Collective, good morning. What is going on? Welcome into the channel. So happy to have you here always. My name is Deborah, owner of Purusha Holistic Wellness, and this is another episode of Purusha Intuitive, where we're going to be looking at the energy, just do a little midweek check-in via the tarot, astrology, and any channeled messages that come through. So let's get into it. It's been an interesting week. There's not a lot going on in the transits. I've kind of been talking about this a lot lately, etc. Where we're getting a break. We're getting a break from the holidays, from all the hubbub. I know we're a little bit far away from that now, a month and a half out from that, I should say. But we're still kind of recollecting, getting ourselves put back together. There's also a lot of change happening per usual. Some stuff we expect, some things we don't. And we have to readjust our expectations on how those changes are going to look. Because even when we know changes, need to be made, there can be some resistance, or we're actually trying to help further those along. And we run into various blocks, obstacles, etc. It is really helping us learn the authentic lessons that we need to be learning, but never fun in the process. And this week specifically, like I mentioned, not a lot of intense transits, but definitely things are getting brought up in our emotional world, how we're feeling around those changes. Especially changes that we need to make ourselves. It's so easy to blame other people, point the finger at our external environment, and it's probably valid. It's probably legit, 100%. We also need to focus on the things that we can control. I was in a class last night, an Ayurveda class, and the Vadya was talking about how you just got to stay focused on yourself and what you're doing. And yeah, it can be very annoying when people try to infiltrate, when they're gossip, mean, smear your name, take you down, whatever it may be. It's not easy to turn a blind eye to those things at all. But when we do, we're actually taking our power back. And I'm not saying turn a blind eye, acknowledge it, because that's the whole thing Ayurveda teaches us, or just wellness in general. Our body is kind of that barometer for how we take in information, whether it is physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, how we're taking that in and our ability to process through. And a lot of times when we're getting tripped up, or we put ourselves in situations which might not be the best for us, it's because we're disconnected from ourselves, or we're not processing that information accordingly. And I feel like a lot of the things that are coming up right now are those things that have been hidden, or we haven't really looked at in a while. Things that need to be addressed. Things that are important for our movement forward. We're in our final week of Aquarius season. And then we'll be moving into Pisces. I love Pisces because it's magical and mystical, and it is heightening that connection we have with our intuition, but it also can be very watery. It can be very emotional, and therefore feeling a little bit overwhelming. And I feel like we've definitely gotten a lot of that lately. I don't even know, maybe months, I don't know. Everyone's situation is going to be different, but we will start off with an energy cleansing just to set the tone, set the vibe for the reading, cleanse out those places we might feel blocked, limited. It's also a really good time to set your own intention for the reading as well, especially if you have come in with something on your heart, on your mind, something you would like Spirit to deliver messages to you around. Definitely give that over. Be open to receive. It really is a great way to personalize these collective readings. Spirit is always looking to speak to us, and a lot of times we just got to pay attention. And I hope you do obviously receive messages from this reading today. I also do personal readings. I offer a variety of healing and wellness services. Readings are one of them. If you want me to look at your specific situation, how it's faring, where it's headed, Or if you're interested in that realignment of self, your mind, body, soul, I do energy healing as well as Ayurvedic or holistic wellness consultations. When we're aligned in self, when we're connected with self, like I was just saying, that's really where we're able to manifest our happiness, our fulfillment, our success, whatever that looks like for you. And I would love to help support that in whatever way possible. Definitely hit me up if you're interested. All the info to get into contact with me is in the description box below. All right, with that, let's get into it. I bless you with pure love and light, pure source energy, pure loving grace. I release anything that is not for your highest and best. Any fears, doubts, insecurities, lack of worth, lack of value, pain, anger, frustration, impatience, overwhelm. Cleanse it and release it from our being so we may see and understand the messages clearly. Help to make me a clear and open channel for the collective. Thank you, Father God, Spirit Guides, Guardian Angels, Mama Love. Very smoky today. Good cleansing. I think we need it. I feel like the energy's been a little bit heavy. Like I said, not unmanageable. We just had Mercury and Venus go into Pisces. So communication, people, situations that we love, the things that are near and dear to our heart can be a little emotional, especially when we are kind of navigating dynamics that we wish would have worked out. The poet reminds me a lot of that energy of nostalgia, you know, kind of fancifully reflecting upon something that may or may not have been, you know, not saying, I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer by saying that, like, whatever you're walking away from didn't have good components, because there always is good and bad, right? But sometimes if we are a little bit more attached or heartfelt to a situation, it can be easy to buy into an illusion that it was like better than what it actually was, you know, or we're missing out on something by having that dynamic removed from our life. Oh, there we go. You saw me shuffle. That guy wants to come out. This could even be in communication as well. People that you're coming into contact with the rest of the week. Maybe even wanting to sell a situation to you as different than what it was. We have tense aspect between the North Node and Black Moon Lilith. So Black Moon Lilith is like our wild side, or maybe like those deeper, darker desires that we don't always acknowledge, or we kind of keep hidden in the closet. I don't know if that's a good way to say it, but it's just that value of like we don't always let everyone know. And so she can be a little bit tricky, especially when we are trying to grow, especially when we are trying to heal and evolve. She can dangle that carrot of, are you sure you're wanting to walk away from this? And with Jupiter in retrograde in Cancer, it makes it even harder to move because that is just like, I want the energy of like, I want to stay comfy, cozy in my bed. I don't want to be bothered, and everything's going to work out fine. And, you know, I am a believer in manifestation, being able to attract that, but there is always action potential. And it's funny, as I'm saying that, we get the Inventor card. So I'm hearing that instead of letting some of these things that are popping up, some of the things that are triggering more emotion or a reality on where the change needs to be, or the reality on where you're getting into, where you're finding resistance, blocks, etc., like people, situations, removing or refusing to move forward. We got to get inventive. We got to start planning. That's where Mercury is really working in our favor. It's positively aspected to the North Node if we actually listen. Like if we listen to ourselves, spirit, universe, God, however you understand it, your intuition. If you actually are like listening to that and following it, not anything crazy, right? We have to be mindful with our intuition because it's a really fine balance between innate knowing and illusion. And even though Neptune has moved out of Pisces, Saturn is still in Pisces. And then we have all those inner planets, which directly correlate to our day-to-day living, that are moving into those water signs, into Pisces specifically. But so there is this, intimate. Getting intimate with ourselves, that always comes out weird. But I think like as we're inventing, it again is this process of uncovering. It's this process of knowing who you are and what you actually need. And I feel like this is about not looking at things in a linear way, being inventive with your approach, especially when you've been trying to do something over and over and over again and it's fallen flat, This is that part of ourselves that is uncomfortable to look at. This guy, the reflector, the mirror, I always say the mirror, but it's not an easy energy to deal with because it is those come to Jesus moments when we have to look at ourselves in the mirror and be like, okay, well, how am I attracting this? What is the belief I'm thinking or feeling? Or, maybe people outside of us who are proving exactly what we think and feel within. And that's never fun. It's never fun. We'll look at how this plays out in the tarot. It's important to, again, I feel like I've been kind of a broken record, but building that strong foundation for yourself is very imperative right now. And I'm hearing like not being so rigid. Like, yes, maybe rigid with your execution, giving yourself the privilege of discipline, being disciplined with what you want, whether it's like making a schedule, implementing a new habit, and then actually sticking with it, right? Or I'm not going to go around that person, or that's not safe for me, or whatever it may be. It's having that awareness, it's having that wherewithal so that you're not stuck. And especially when we're getting some of these energies, both internal and external, that might make it easy or more tempting to come back into situations, dynamics that we feel guilty around, ashamed about. Because I was even hearing with this, like people putting certain things in our face, like as a way to maintain control. Well, you were doing this, and so it justified my bad behavior type vibe. In your blocked energy, you have the Survivor card. So you might be having, I'm hearing it as like you're protecting yourself. I was hearing it as like armor. Whatever the heaviest armor is, you have it on. No. But yes, like in that way that you're trying to figure out how to reintegrate, reacclimate, adjust to circumstances. But again, in the face of like some of those circumstances still playing out. We have 10 of Cups, 5 of Coins, the Empress, feeling left out, feeling like you're not getting your fair shake. Maybe even having to acknowledge places where it wasn't fair, or someone did something shitty to you, but then they're the one ghosting you type vibe is what I'm hearing. But again, that's like, and it goes back to that class I was in last night. It's not about you. It's not about you. If someone is going to do you wrong on whatever capacity, even if, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, but like if someone's going to do you wrong or do you shady, do you dirty, that says more about them than it does about you. It's just hard to not pick those things up, especially when we are in survivor mode, or if you've been through a really rough time where you are on the defensive or you are paranoid about what's being offered to you or how people are interacting, engaging, etc. All right, let's look at how this is playing out. So the moon, 100%, that makes a lot of sense, especially just with the moon in the astrology. It's all tensely aspected right now. I'm not trying to laugh. It's funny because the cards never lie. We can pick up this emotion. Where the moon is successful, though, is with Chiron. And Chiron is that wound healer. So that kind of goes back to, we can sit and get enmeshed, involved in the emotions, think things were better, different, were horrible, whatever kind of messages you're telling yourself. Untruths, that's what I was hearing. I don't know why I didn't say that, but I was hearing that at the very beginning. It's false beliefs. It's false beliefs that are making things really emotional. And that goes back to this process of being open, of being aware, taking a step back where you need to, so you're not buying into whatever those false beliefs are. 100% approaching things with a new perspective, the Hangman. It's not an easy thing to do. And what I'm hearing for you specifically, it might even be this thing where you have to retrain your brain. You know, you could have been dealing with these people, emotions, the dynamics for a very long time that have kind of ingrained certain patterns of belief into your psyche. And the Hangman, the message is that it is a forcing of changing the perspective. And it can be slightly uncomfortable, but it's in a way where you're bringing reality into focus. And I think that that's where this gentle component comes in for you, being gentle with yourself, making sure you're loving on yourself to whatever capacity you can do that this week or the rest of this week. Carve out some time in your schedule, do something healing for your mind, your body, your soul. Even if it is new for you, like I was talking about in the very beginning, it's so important to schedule our wellness. And I love Ayurveda. I'll say this probably never ending because it gives you the opportunity to implement self-love, self-care, and all the things that you do. There's the way we approach our life. It's a beautiful practice, in my opinion, of sacrament. Sacrament to honor ourselves, who we are as spiritual beings. And when we pay attention, when we honor ourselves in that way, it's incredibly powerful what that healing does. So 4 swords. So a lot of energy of going within. It looks like you're busy. It looks like it's hard to slow down this week, or maybe you're just getting caught up in whomever, whatever this is, like you can't avoid it type thing, because it looks like either they're not staying quiet, the Hermit is in their blocked energy. It's either one of the extremes. Either you're being ghosted, someone's like refusing to talk to you, or they're in your face. And it doesn't maybe look like they're as much in your face whenever you find this reading. It looks like it's happening a little bit more as time progresses, or there are some things that are popping up. And again, why it's really important to just like connect with yourself, know your wants and needs. The other thing that's awesome about wellness is when we do take care of ourselves, it does some of the problem solving for us. There's a natural effect it has on our quality of consciousness, our ability to discern, to have clarity of thought. And that's where, like, that's one of Ayurveda's biggest points, is our consciousness is directly related to our health and our well-being. Our ability to see through people, situations, dynamics with clear sight. And that becomes invaluable right now. Because again, with the moon hermit energy, I'm not trying to throw shade. It is a lot of emotion. It's a lot of like push and pull. It's a lot of someone, I don't know if it's I don't get a temper tantrum, but it's kind of just like someone who keeps bitching and complaining is what I hear. I'm sorry for my language. Sometimes a cuss word feels good, right? But it definitely has this vibe of like, well, if they're going to do this, if collective's going to do this, then I'm doing that. You know, a little bit of very childish is what I'll say. And I think for you, it's either like you don't have a lot of time to process this week, or the time that you need is time you need to schedule yourself, being intentional, making sure that you're not flaking out on that. That's not the right word I want to use, but really making sure that you're giving that to yourself, right? No excuses. Schedule the time for yourself and then actually do it. Actually follow through. Because there is some anxiety popping up, and this anxiety is a reaction from whomever, whatever is going on around you, whatever they're doing. The Knight of Swords represents strategy, plans of action. Someone is making some moves. Again, places that things might get triggered for you. It's not going to feel so comfortable. It might put you back into this survivor mode, like, oh shit, I thought I had gotten over all this, and here it all comes up again. And some of this, you know, I feel like someone is taking a different approach. And that different approach, Knight of Swords, whatever it is causing stress, is causing anxiety. And it might not be the nicest conversation, especially depending on how you feel, how you think about this dynamic going into it. Let's see, I want to clarify. We'll finish our pull. Okay, the Lovers. And the Tower. Uh-oh. Okay, so let's look. I'm going to clarify the Tower for you and the Lovers for them. Queen of Cups. Someone joining forces. The High Priestess, of course. Your intuition is like going bazonkers. And the Four of Cups. Okay, so changes are starting, but it does, here's the thing, and this has been popping up, this is not just from me, I've actually seen this a lot, other readers on YouTube, astrologers, etc., and not only on YouTube, but that's a source I use, but change, like, this is reshuffling something, and it might be someone's bad reaction to what they don't like that you're doing, right? The way that you are taking care of yourself, etc. Because someone is trying to make, it's like they don't like what you're doing. They're all emotional, like all in their feels, kind of huffy about it, blah, blah, blah. But then they figure out a way, okay, if I come to collective, if I take this route, then collective will respond or pay attention to me or whatever it is. The intention is to rejoin on some level, or, you know, you might have a few people, it might be a group of people that are coming towards you, messages, communication with the Eight of Wands, things coming to head, the climax, the pinnacle of a situation. And we've been seeing that a lot of intensity with the vertex point, which really is talking about that resistance to things culminating. Because someone wants to prove that they've changed, things are different, it's not how it used to be. They're not going to do this again. What are they saying to collective? They're saying they're healing. They're saying you've healed. It's forcing you to confront something that is uncomfortable, something that you do feel like you've survived, and something that is going to trigger some of this trauma, some of the stuff that's happened in the past for you again. So there's going to be a lot of moving pieces as the week closes out. We're also headed into a new moon, and it's going to start an eclipse season that's happening on the 17th. New moon in Aquarius with a solar eclipse. Solar eclipse is all about external change. So it makes a lot of sense, and I feel like this has been coming up a lot lately in our readings. It makes a lot of sense why we're seeing people come out of the woodwork, want to express these things to you of like, again, where are we at? Can we reconcile? Can we work it out? Whatever, blah, blah, blah. And I think that this stresses you out because it's another mountain to climb for you. And I feel like in this way that you've already kind of done some healing work around this, you've moved beyond, or like that's what you would like to think, like to believe, etc. And you're being forced to face it again. But I think this is a chance and opportunity to really see how far you've come and the work you've done. Being in the present moment, trying not to be too foresighted, if that's a word, I don't know, but I think that that's why we're getting this energy of inventor, intimate, really just focusing on yourself, trying not to get too worried about what's coming in or these people, situations communicating with you. They are hard conversations. And again, not because I don't know that you're going to be attacked. You might have someone or a few people who are kind of bullying, trying to control through those means. But again, there's a different reality that someone wants to spin on something, and that's what they're banking on will change your mind. And it's enough to stress you out. It's enough to stress you out. It's enough to be like, oh shit, well, what do I do now? Like I had it planned that I was going to do X, Y, and Z, or this is how I was going to respond. And it feels a little bit harder to do that on this side of things. But as in everything, there's always opportunity. It says dare to imagine. I want to clarify that before I move on. Because sometimes we can heal from these situations. Sometimes there are options for our empowerment, is what this is saying. 7 of Cups, the Chariot, and then let's see what this guy is. Oh, wake-up call. Well, and it kind of goes back to that beginning point I was talking about, where it's like sometimes we don't have to be so linear in certain things, right? Like there is some type of growth here for you. It is, yes, up to you, obviously, but let me see why. Okay, Ace of Swords, clarity. I do like that. New pieces of information coming in. Page of Swords, communication, that will help bring some understanding. I think here's the thing. It's like, and the Magician. Okay, so it's like you might have a really fixed idea of how things are going to go. And it looks like this situation plays out a little differently. Not necessarily bad. I mean, it's to be determined. These are collective readings. Always stay safe. Never put yourself in a dynamic that is toxic, abusive, bad for you. Just, that's my baseline always, right? We don't want to be waiting around for people. We don't want to be a doormat. We don't want to let people walk all over us, you know, being manipulated, etc. So if you know whomever, whatever you're dealing with has a tendency to do it, then yeah, definitely keep on your guard. But if these are miscommunications, if the messages that come in, what people are trying to talk about, what they're trying to, you know, inform you of, if it's something where there can be some wiggle room, it might actually be really empowering, you know? And maybe that's part of where the survivor might be working against you. If you are on the defensive, if you do have your guard up pretty effing high, you know? And again, probably rightfully so. I'm not knocking it at all. What I'm trying to speak about is there is always opportunity for growth, for change, evolution, and sometimes relationships are important enough to us to want to work through or to find ways we can bridge the gap. And if that opportunity is available to you, you know, I would never want to say like, cut them off, screw them, blah, blah, blah. That's not my decision to make. That's your decision to make. Okay, so clarity of insight, love your true self. And there might be something to that, right? Like a lot of times when we go through these stickier places, it forces us to grow. It forces us to see things from a new vantage point, new perspective. So when we do come back to the table with people of the past, it really just kind of showcases, you know, where maybe there was too much fear, too much anxiety, getting the best of us, etc. And again, I'm not trying to flip this around and point it back on you. I'm just seeing that there's opportunity for the people who want to take it, where there could be a level of openness and willingness to change. Yes, I would be very mindful of how you interact and engage with these energies, especially with the Four of Cups. The Four of Cups is about taking something for granted, you know, and being really despondent and not wanting to see other ways forward, right? So if you feel like you've had people who are taking advantage of you, or like I said, just like really mistreating you, then you need to be a little bit more on your guard, 100%. But there's always different, I want to say like percentages. It doesn't mean you have to let someone back into your life 100%. You can do a 20%. Maybe that's a little low. Shows you where my mentality's at. Bare minimum. No, it's just hard when people have hurt you. You know, these are not, again, there's a lot that comes with it. It's not just about having to survive something that was really tough, really overwhelming. People contribute, but also have things triggered, traumas, etc. that, you know, aren't easy. It takes a lot to be intentional about our life, about healing, about being a better version of ourselves, about success. And so much of it is not on the superficial level. You know, that's more like where we put the action into play. So much of it is on the internal, you know. And what I love about the eclipse season is it's going to bring the changes that are necessary. Solar eclipse removes energies that are not good for us, you know, especially in our external environment. And then we get to do some of that healing work with the lunar eclipse that follows. So I hope you enjoyed the reading. Thank you so much for your time, energy always. No, I super appreciate you. I definitely hope you found messages that resonated for you here. Definitely drop comments below if you did. I love to hear or just connect, say hey, share in a little love, a little TLC. I so appreciate all the blessings that you bring to me and to this channel. Know it blesses my heart, and I am sending love and blessings back to you. I hope you have a fabulous Thursday. I'll be in touch Saturday.